None of us like to be dependent on someone else. No one likes to stand on someone else's property. No one likes to look to someone else for their food and drink and their basic needs. So we know to be self-reliant, to be independent is important in all these kinds of things, but when it comes to the biggest thing in life, arguably, which is happiness, we seem to not understand the concept of self-reliance at all, and try to look for it outside of ourselves, to look for someone who can just hand it to us, and even for someone to be in charge of it for us, even if we don't realize that. And all we know how to do is wish for it. It sort of reminds me of religious people who might go to church just to pray for their own success, not only in life but even in their job, or they will wish and pray for someone they know who has some sort of an ailment to get better really quickly, and that the next year is going to bring them an easier life, more money, more wealth. And they don't realize that that's blasphemy. I know that's a term with obvious religious connotations, but it applies to non-religious people too, because if we think about it, to ask God for such a relatively small thing, such as one's own success, one's own luck and fortune in life, it's blasphemous. It's sin. It's a mistake, and it's a conceit to think that God, or whoever you want to call it, the universe, whatever you believe in, would not know better than ourselves what to do with us. Arguably, when we pray or wish for our own health, our own success in business and whatever, and we go as far as to pray for it, we are essentially saying that God doesn't know any better, that he needs to be told what to do, or that we at least need to make the request for it to be granted. Otherwise, he wouldn't even think of it, or he wouldn't grant it. This is all blasphemy. And we do it as even non-religious people. When we sit there, I suppose we can't even pray for it then, but just to sit there and to desire something, to wish for it, and just to sit there and to think one deserves it and that it should just come to someone. These are the sort of people that don't realize that even if their wishes are granted, even if their desires are fulfilled, those desires are only going to be replaced with the fear of losing whatever was once desired and is now acquired. All those people who wish for money, who wish for fame, or whatever it is, once they get it, they wish to never lose it. And they're anxious, they're fearful, they're afraid that they are going to lose it at any moment, and that they're not in control of it. And it's true, they're not in control of it. And because they tied their happiness, they've built their happiness with the building blocks of things found in the external world rather than in themselves internally. They chose wealth to be their building blocks for happiness. They chose fame. They chose whatever you want to insert into that. And those building blocks are open to catastrophe and to crumble and to be taken away from us, or to never be given us in the first place. And so is it not true that desire is the absence of possession, but possession is not the absence of desire? Even if our desires are fulfilled, either we desire something else or more of it, or we desire not to lose it. And this is why only those who produce their own building blocks for happiness, who know how to manufacture and use their own building blocks for happiness are the only ones who are truly able to utilize it. Because happiness built with those building blocks is secure and not open to damage by others. And Seneca, we have to have our mandatory Seneca quote in our videos, of course. And Seneca says, "You will not achieve the good that is sound and beyond threat unless you are secure in dealing with what is unsecure. You will never truly have the true good unless you are secure in dealing with the insecure." Meaning fortune. Anything can happen to us at any point. If we're fortified against that, if we don't look for those outside events to come in and to be either a bad or a good thing, and for us to act accordingly and to be happy accordingly or not, unless we give that up, we can never be secure in our happiness. And Seneca further asks, if one is firm in one's attitude to uncertainty, why should one be disturbed by the fluctuation and instability of fortune? If one is secure in themselves, why should one be afraid of the instability and insecurity of fortune? And so we need to learn at each misfortune to say, the gods had a better plan. The gods had a better idea for me. Because we don't know where everything is leading. And to judge everything as it comes in and as it now seems to be good or bad and to live according to that is to relay power, is to take it from oneself and to give it quite literally to anyone who walks in the door. It could be anyone. They could do anything to us to affect us negatively or positively. And I've said before, I live by this. Whenever I think of something that is a candidate for happiness, and I'm considering whether it's a candidate for happiness, I say, can it be taken away from me? Because how can happiness be something that can be taken away from me? If it can be taken away from me, then I will the entire time be anxious of it being taken away from me. And that would mean that anxiety is happiness. And that doesn't make any sense, because whenever we would have happiness, anxiety would come with it. And that's not happiness. So that's why we need to ask ourselves, how can happiness be something that can be taken away from me? Now, we can think of, so what is happiness then, if it cannot be taken away from me? What are the things that cannot be taken away from me? First of all, the past cannot be taken away from me. We can all, and this is again, Seneca says, we can all be robbed of having, but we can never ever be robbed of having had. And whenever we lose something, be it an object or a person or anything else, we immediately behave like we've never had it. That we deserved it all our lives, but we never had it. When up until that very moment it was lost, we did have it. And we have a responsibility to the past in that way, of acknowledging that it exists and to acknowledge that everything is secure in the past. The past cannot help but to happen the way it has already happened. Everything has been secured in the past. Everything that has come to be and has passed is now there and will be forever there. But also, of course, especially the Stoics, concerning not only the past but now and moving forward, when we ask what are the things that cannot be taken away from us and thereby constitute happiness. Those are also the things that we can give ourselves. In fact, that we must give ourselves. In fact, they are things that can only be given to us, by us, and not by anyone else. And they would, of course, say that these are the virtues, that the only good is the moral good, and the only bad is the moral bad, because no one can force someone to be unjust. Only we ourselves can be unjust, or we can be just. No one can force us to become just or to be unjust. They cannot force us to be honest or to be dishonest. They cannot force us to be kind or unkind. They cannot force us into courage. They cannot force us into cowardice. We are what we are, and we have to make ourselves one way or the other. And if you see what crystallizes here, it's that all the things that cannot be taken away from us are things that we can give ourselves, that we must give ourselves. And once we do that, nothing can change us. We will be fulfilled, we will be whole, we will be happy because we depend on ourselves, we rely on ourselves, we're a closed unit. Nothing can be taken away, nothing can be added. We don't want anything to be added. We don't want anything to be taken away either, but again, only we can take those things from ourselves, only we can give them away. No one can come and snatch justice from us, courage from us, honesty from us, kindness from us. No one can come and snatch that or steal that from you or make you worse, because again, the only bad is the moral bad, and no one can make you morally worse. It's impossible. No one can make you morally better either. So we need to rely on ourselves both to become better and to become worse. And this does not mean, I always get this whenever I say something like this. This does not mean that we should not pursue wealth, that we should not pursue money. Everyone needs an income, and it's even okay to pursue wealth. It's okay to pursue recognition in one's career or field or family. The point is, we must not need these things. If we are reliant on these things and they're taken away from us either by another person or fortune or anything else, just by chance, then we are open to become unhappy. If we need what we desire, and what we desire is not up to us, then someone else is in charge of our happiness. Say it again and again. So wealth can be pursued, fame can be pursued, whatever you want to call it, whatever example you want to give. It can all be pursued as long as it does not make us morally worse. If you have to cheat, if you have to lie, if you have to steal to acquire more money, then you are made morally worse, because you've sacrificed from your kindness, you've sacrificed from justice, you have sacrificed from honesty, from your morals, from your virtues, the only things that you can give yourself, and the only things that you are in control of. And that's how you made yourself morally worse, by pursuing wealth. But you are pursuing wealth and you're not stealing, robbing, lying to anyone, and you're not doing anything wrong, and you're being completely just and fair and kind and honest, and you've managed to acquire large sums of money. What's wrong with that? Both to desire money as well as to desire not having money is an impediment, because we don't want to be running away from something we can't control either. Sometimes money is just thrown one's way. And it's the same with fame and anything else. If you can pursue it and acquire it without making yourself morally worse, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And now the flip side. If you pursue wealth, or again anything else, and it's just not working out, it's just not happening, fortune is not granting it to you, chance is not giving it to you. But if you tied your happiness to those things that we've discussed, those things that cannot be taken away from you and that you've already given yourself, well, then the only difference between you having money and not having money will be that you're less effective, right? Money can solve a lot of problems, it can accelerate things, it can make sort of earthly, profane things possible that without money you cannot do. So in that way you will become more or less effective, but you will not become more or less happy. And that's independence. That's freedom. That's self-reliance. That's self-sufficiency. And that's what we seek in everything else in daily life as much as possible, but neglect in the most important thing, which is happiness to all of us. So this is not meant to put anyone down. This is supposed to be an encouraging, affirming message, because what's better than to be able to give happiness to yourself and to immediately cut all those things out that we've been running after, that is up to someone else for us to give, and to just finally say, you know what, keep it, because I was not pursuing this for the right reason. I was pursuing this to become happy. I was not pursuing this to solve some sort of logistical problem or to help someone out or anything like that. But I was pursuing for my happiness, and this is preventing me. Whereas if I just let go of, again, not the pursuit of that necessarily, but the need of it, the desire of it, then I am free and independent and self-reliant. So that's just what I would like you to think about this week. Little affirmation for those who are already on their way, and who I sometimes read in the comments of people saying that they are making a major effort to never lie and to be honest with everyone around them, and that they're making progress in that, and that's great. So please keep going. This is an affirmation to you. And yeah, today, of course, with the new video, we're also resuming the newsletter. The second newsletter is coming. Your responses to the first one were very, very positive, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm glad it's doing something. I'm glad it is of value. And we already have a few thousand people who have signed up. And the second one, like I said, is coming out today with Seneca's second letter, my journal entry on that. And I hope you've done your homework and you can compare. And yeah, if you haven't done that yet, you can sign up for the newsletter on the website. It's just acceptingtheuniverse.com. On the newsletter, you get my weekly favorite quote. We have a book club that we call the book club Like No Other, where we not only read Seneca's letters on ethics, but we write about them. If you ever wanted to become a better speaker, not only in your personal close relationships, but in public, in front of a larger group of people, if you ever wanted to become better at writing, or even if you just wanted to become better at reading and understanding something, truly understanding the ideas, the concepts, the thread that runs to it, and the themes that run through it, or even just to become a better thinker, to consider a problem, to think about something, to think about how you stand on something and you try to make a decision about it. If you just want to be more effective in that, I promise you this will help you. We're reading Seneca's letters with the intent of journaling about them, and these letters contain very big ideas, and we're trying to not apply them to our small little personal problems, but we're trying to stick with the grand view of that really high idea that Seneca proposes to us in these letters, various ideas in various letters, and just sticking with that without personalizing it, without bringing it down to the our minuscule little identities, but to think of it in larger terms, to consider life in general and happiness in general, regardless of who we are, and to come up with arguments that work for ourselves, to convince ourselves of these ideas. Reading is one thing, someone else's words, but to then take them and to rewrite them in a way to deal with an idea, to take an idea and to really explore it, and then to convince oneself of the validity of that idea, is a great writing exercise, great thinking exercise, is really the core of philosophy, and will make us all better articulators, better thinkers, and those who are simply better at living a full, happy, meaningful life.